Hey, friends, I thought I would share with you the 8 P's of pilgrimage. We're on a pilgrimage, we all know that, a Christian pilgrimage. And the pilgrimage is the journey, right? And heaven is the destination. And there's a lot available to us along the way in the pilgrimage. So much. Now, it's not limited to these 8, but I just want to concentrate on these 8. And I have to put a disclaimer out there that these are not my 8 P's of pilgrimage. These are the 7 P's of pilgrimage that a good friend of mine, Father Jonathan Wilson, gave to me while he and I were on a pilgrimage leading our people through Israel. And then we also went on a pilgrimage through the Marian shrines of Europe. And so he taught me about these 7 P's of pilgrimage. And then somebody said, hey, well, what about an 8th? You know, kind of like the 8 Beatitudes. So here they are. Place, purpose, prayer, people, patience, penance, peace, and fun. P-H-U-N, fun. So phonically it works, okay? All right, those are the 8 P's of pilgrimage. The 8 P's of pilgrimage are, we need them as we're on this Christian journey through this life to get to heaven. That they're great aids to us. Let's call them companions that accompany us along the way and help us on our pilgrim way. So place. Place is sometimes, certainly in the history of the Christian church, people will go on pilgrimage to a specific geographic place. Like I'm getting ready to lead about 70 of my parishioners from St. Francis de Sales on a pilgrimage through the Holy Land, through Israel. A lot of the biblical sites related to Jesus' life and the apostles. So some people do that, and you can do that, and that is our tradition, and it's a concentrated period of time through a geographic place and all of the holy sites along the way for us to draw closer to the Lord. But we can also have other places where we use them as places of pilgrimage. Our home can be a place of pilgrimage, where we're taking time, for instance, to read the scriptures and to reflect upon them, or where we just welcoming the Lord to live here among us, not just 2,000 years ago in the Holy Land, in Capernaum, but in our own marriages and in our own families. So there can be multiple places where we encounter the Lord along the way. Certainly, churches are pilgrimages, places of pilgrimages, or they're the vessel that takes us through the journey in this world. It's interesting, that the main body of a church is called the nave. Like where the priest sits, that's called the sanctuary, and it's usually a couple steps up, usually 3 steps up, right? Because it's a symbol of heaven, a little higher than the rest. Well, the rest, lower down, is called the nave, and that's, of course, a nautical term, right? For like the hull of a boat, the main part of a boat. So we're pilgrim people in the boat together, all journeying to get to the sanctuary where we receive the Eucharist, which is a foretaste of heaven. I mean, it is heaven on earth. It is Christ in his sacramental form, body, blood, soul, and divinity, but feeding us and along the way so that our faith then becomes this face in the life of heaven itself. So place, like a church, can be a place in which we encounter God. And there are multiple places available to us if we allow, in which we can encounter God. We can encounter God in the place of a human relationship, for instance, like in a home or a place of business or on a school ground or in a sporting team. We can encounter God there. Purpose is the next one. Every pilgrimage has a purpose. And the purpose of a pilgrimage is to help us get to heaven, okay? But along the way, it's to remind us not only that we're on a journey, but we're being prepared to take other people with us. So that, like if we go to a Holy Land, the purpose is to set us aside for a concentrated period of time in which the Lord readies us to go back to our normal life and to wake people up, to point things out to people, to call them to more, to call them to still more excellent ways, St. Paul talks about. That the Lord captures us for a period of time in order to reinstill that purpose in us. And then we go on and we realize I'm not just on a pilgrim way by myself, but I'm to call others on that pilgrim way also. And a lot of us Christians, Catholics in particular, have forgotten that, right? We just concentrate on me. We just concentrate on little us, my spouse and my children. And sometimes we don't even do that very well. Right? We're not really being great examples of the Christian life. So our kids raise up and they see us go to Mass or something, but they don't see us head over heels in love with Jesus Christ. And in fact, they see us doing things that are contrary to our Christian life, and they're like, I don't know if I want to walk that way, if that way is like, well, you know? So, being on a pilgrim way, whether we go to a Holy Land or we just make the home a Holy Land, is an opportunity to just remember the destination and live towards the destination and let it infuse meaning and purpose and into everything that we do and everything we are and all the relationships that we're with. And then we can be that example. Then we can be that evangelist. Then we can be that beautiful life. Then we can be that still more excellent way that people are attracted to, like people that are around us, and not just those who are around us, like our immediate family, our neighbors, or fellow parishioners, but all the people that the Lord is going to have us encounter along the way, because our purpose is to bring them with us, and we have to remember that as Christians. Prayer. The Jews, when they're on the pilgrim way through the desert, one of the things they did often was they prayed the Psalms. Back then, let's call it something different. They prayed songs of praise, songs of lament, songs of adoration, songs of thanksgiving that stretched the whole gamut of human experience. They prayed based upon where they were in life, and we have to do the same on a regular basis as we run into the highs and lows. We have to pray in both places. And that prayer kept the pilgrim people, the Jews in Exodus to the Promised Land, it kept them moving forward. Well, it's the same for us. Prayer is an essential part of pilgrimage. Here's another one, people. It's interesting, and I think maybe we could put people and the fifth one together, patience. We could put them together. Because people take patience, right? God knows the people around me have to be patient with me, and it's probably the same with you. And we have to be patient with other people. Again, those who are nearest and dearest are often the one we have to be the most patient with. But we also have to be patient with the sinner in the pew next to us, rather than excuse ourselves and say, that hypocrite, and I'm not going to sit here. We have to be patient with their weaknesses and with their humanness, their fallenness, their follies, their idiosyncrasies, their selfishness, and all that kind of stuff. But people are also needed because, the Jews did not go through the Exodus experience alone as an individual Jew. Remember, all of this is an archetype. All of this is a foreshadowing of the church and what God would bring in a more perfect way, albeit in on earth, still not a perfect way. That he would. This shows us that we don't do it alone. That we need other people for the pilgrimage along the way and to get to the destination. And sometimes the way we need them to prepare us for heaven is we need to forgive them. We need to love them. We need to accept them where they're at, but don't leave them where they're at. Love them enough to call them on to more, right? we need to be merciful. We need to be generous. We need to be attentive to them. We need to listen to them and hear where they're at. And the list goes on. And all of that, by the way, is the stuff that prepares us for entering into the promised land, that gets us ready for God's promises. So people are an essential part of that, let alone the same people that encourage us, that support us, that inspire us, that pray for us, that pray alongside of us, that pray over us. All of that is necessary. People and patience. And here's another thing. Penance. Penance is necessary in the pilgrim way. And man, in the modern times, we, in general, modern people, we have forgotten that, we've dismissed it, or we have simply not used it a lot, or at all. It's not part of our regular Christian vocabulary anymore. And that's to say something. When's the last time you used that word? When's the last time you thought about this? Or let alone done this? What is penance? Penance is, it could be a prayer, it could be an action, it could be something like a sacrifice. It could be like during Lent, giving things up, but it doesn't need to be restricted to Lent itself. It's doing penance for the fact that I'm a sinner, the fact that I've hurt other people, or I've hurt my relationship with God, or I've gotten off track. And so we do penance, acts of love, acts of sacrifice, acts of sorrow, where we're giving something up, we're feeling the pains of that, and we express that in a prayer. I'm sorry that I did this, Lord. And I'm doing this now to realign myself, to show myself how much I love you, to show you how much I love you, and so on. That's penance. And it's necessary to get us back on the pilgrim way, because we often will deter from that, and we'll go off into all these little corollary roads that just keep us not moving in the direction of our destination, but moving in other directions. Or some of us just simply sit down and settle for here and now. And we're like, and we even go as far as to say, everything's fine the way it is right now. I don't need more. Okay. So that means then you don't need God, because God is always more than what we have of Him in any given moment. Always more. And penance just kind of shakes us out of all that. It's honest, it's authentic, it's raw, and it's necessary. And the last two is peace. When we do all of these things, when we recognize there's places for us that where we can encounter, where we remember our purpose, where we pray, and the place of people in our life, and the need for patience, and the necessary exercise, spiritual exercise of penance. When we do all of that, it produces peace in our life. Like Jesus says, a peace that the world cannot give, a sustaining peace. Even when we're climbing mountains and everything is clear, and we're in the valley and we don't know where we're going and what's over the next ridge, right? It produces an enduring penance. So pilgrimages produce penance and peace, and we need that in life. Here's the last one: fun, P-H-U-N. Remember along the way to have fun. As important and as serious as the pilgrimage is, and the Christian journey is, and getting into heaven is, we also have to remember to have fun, to laugh, to joke, to look at other people and just see them enjoying life and smiling at that. To have the fun of a loving relationship, or the fun of going out and jogging or biking or swimming or whatever it is that you do. That's just like, man, I love this hobby that I do. It's just so good. And many, many other expressions of fun. Okay, one last thought about pilgrimage. Any one of these things cannot be the destination, and they cannot be the journey. We cannot just live for the fun, for instance. As Christians, we cannot live our lives so serious that we're always beating ourselves up, like in a penitential way. But even that is a distortion of penance. We cannot get stuck on one place, right? We cannot allow people to be our purpose in life. And we cannot, live our lives in such a way that we're always just praying, but we're the least patient people in life. Have you ever met people like that? They're great prayers, but when it comes to interacting with other people, they just don't know how to treat them. Let alone be in a fun relationship. Let alone have fun. So it's all of those things, and it's a balance. It's an aggregate of all of those things, and they're all necessary for our pilgrimage through life. We are on a pilgrimage. Make no doubt about it. The destination is what we live for, but the journey is also important. And along the way, we have these keys of pilgrimage available to us that help us get ready and help others get ready to enter into the promised land. Till next time, friends.